can imagine if you've been working in, a field for 10 years and all of a sudden these really cool raptors come in, you're like, whoa, that's great. The eye of a bird is much superior to ours in terms of what they see and how they see it. It's sort of the Wild West in terms of what's in the back of a bird's retina and looking at it. It's the first time you could basically see what you thought is wrong or find out what you thought is wrong by looking inside the eye, which we were unable to do in the past, or not without putting the animal out. We think we're going to find, but when we get these images, we're like, hey, this is the first photograph of the two fovea of a bird in a live bird ever been done. I get excited. The people in the clinic, the technicians, love it as well. They get very excited. These are live birds. Before it was just histology, looking at cut slices of dead birds, but it's the first time in vivo in a live bird that pathology, something wrong with the eye, you can actually see in a non-invasive manner. The photographers that actually take the shots of the birds love to do it because number one, it's challenging, and number two, they get to see things. It's like traveling in space. They get to see things that have never been seen before. My father, who was an ophthalmologist, was also a bird watcher. The love of birds stemmed from the time with my father as a child going out and bird watching and identifying words. And what bird watching really is you picture these nerdy people with glasses with binoculars looking around the woods, and yes, it's that, but it's also identifying species, so you're trying to find new species. My worlds collided when I was a resident. We have a residence day project, and they said, you have to do a research project. And I said, well, I love birds. And we have this new machine that takes a scan of the back of the eye. So we brought birds of prey in to the office, and this new OCT, optical coherence tomography machine that was high resolution, we brought those birds in, and when we brought them in, we said, well, how are we going to dilate their eye and how are we going to get an image? Well, it turns out many of them were tame because they were in a rehab center, and if you turn off the light, their eye would dilate. So the birds put their bill basically up near the front of a machine that's just light that goes in, and you can do it in a dark situation. It's totally non-invasive. We got these beautiful images of both normal looking raptor retina, which had never been done before, and one of the hawks unfortunately had a blind eye. It turns out he had a retinal detachment that we could see on the scan, and now they've used that technology in other small animals and both for diagnostic purposes and for treatment purposes in the veterinary world. You can imagine birds have a certain disease. Well, if you can detect that disease at an earlier period and give them antibiotics or an injection or something that we can do now, you can then, improve that disease. We had a great horned owl that had come in, was blind in one eye, but we think they were hit by a car. So that bird had been in captivity, and the rehabbers noticed that it would fly longer and longer distances. And so when we first brought it in, we said, look, this eye is filled with blood in the retina, behind the retina. It looked pretty bad, but we got these wonderful wide field imaging pictures, photographs of the bird's eye. Well, we brought that bird back a year later after they said he improved, and lo and behold, there was much less blood. The fovea, the center part of the vision, looked really good. So upon that decision, they turned the owl loose. This is a model for looking at pathology or things that are wrong or right, frankly, anatomy of the back of these birds' eyes. But ultimately, it's not just about birds. It has implications for research across the board, not just for eye, but for whatever you're dealing with. It was pretty neat, letting your worlds collide, and really, really fun.